Yeah, I'm the last one. I'm here to talk about the missing guide for deciding between third-party and custom code. So, deciding between two or multiple things can be very tough sometimes. And it's not only in web development, where you have to make different decisions between things. We have to do it everywhere, right? And for this reason, besides different experiences and how we grew up, we're influenced by a variety of different opinions. So we, as working hard developers in a team, we are constantly thinking about on how we write our code. What drawbacks do we have when choosing this over that? We're constantly making many decisions, and oftentimes even without noticing it. So yeah, from my side, one of the toughest decisions in my career was actually the switch between from being an employee working for a company now to be an independent engineer. So that's me. I'm Glenn Reyes. I'm an independent engineer from Vienna, Austria. I'm currently working for myself using React, GraphQL, and TypeScript. And yeah, on the social medias, you'll find me under Glenn Reyes, but without the E's, including Twitter. Now, why do we love building apps? Why are we even gathered here at the JSWORLD conference, learning from all these amazing talks and frameworks? Now, learning about new things and ideas we are so interested about is just simply exciting, right? So especially when getting back from the weekend and getting back to work to check all of the updates, it's simply amazing, right? So we all love to feel the vibe and movement, right? So open source is a vibe. The feeling and the possibility of being able to use software for free and being able to contribute back is just priceless, right? So it's absolutely amazing to see so many different ideas from libraries that are created by super smart people like you and others from all over the world. I love this quote by the post-impressionist painter Vincent van Gogh, I hope I nailed it, saying, great things are done by a series of small things brought together. So it often happens over time that great things are done, taken from ideas that happened from the past. So, and in open source, we'll find it a lot, we find a lot of small things. We encounter many things like libraries and frameworks that are very similar, but yet a little bit different. So, which one to choose? What way to go? What to do? We're constantly making decisions. So now let's take a step back and ask, how do we actually decide on things? What is step-by-step going on this procedure? For example, when it comes to choosing the right React framework for your new tiny project, you'll quickly be flooded with candidates like Next, Remix, maybe still create React help, we don't know, or maybe none, and just get help with tooling such as Vite. Or maybe looking for date libraries even. So you'll have Moment, you'll have Date FNS, Date.js, etc., etc. So then you may wonder, what is the smallest library? Does it have to be small? Maybe prefer to be fast over small. Does one support all my desired APIs? How well documented and maintained is this over that? And so on. Or maybe this one. What is better here? You know? The top one or bottom? The top one is tabs and the bottom is spaces. Now you know. Hard decision, right? So I found making really good decisions is not as trivial as you may think in the beginning. Making decisions can oftentimes be hard and time-consuming. So it may take some time until you get comfortable and getting a strategy to make reasonable decisions. So now there are simple approaches that I guess we often do when it comes to checking out a potential library, for example, that we're looking for a specific use case. For example, there's the just pick the next as long as you think it's okay strategy, or in other words, from top to bottom or from left to right or whatever you think. You basically try it out, and if there's something that you don't like, or it has something that doesn't work for you, just drop it, take the next one. So that's not so bad, right? So, but also this is me, like after checking the 8th library. So you may be looking a bit more into them, like before wasting your time, like filling into things that you wish that it had included something or not. So then what happens oftentimes is also you look into them, almost stalking into this library, like make a thoroughly and profound research into the library. You check the quality, you check the API, like who was the author, what was the intention, why this exists, what do others write about that thing, and then yeah, you keep stalking, spying half of the day. What's going on this lib? You know, you may even start looking into things that are completely off your grid, and then you do the math. You read about the theory, you research, and everything. You basically get obsessed and crazy about this entire construct of the library, and the day goes by, and you have zero output, right? All you did was yak shaving, reading too much about nonsense. You forgot what you actually wanted to solve. So by the end of the day, you have nothing really done and feel exhausted. You may even experience something called analysis paralysis and be not able to make a decision at all. So this may happen when you start overanalyzing or overthinking a problem, so that you basically get paralyzed and anxious by taking like any action, right? Set yourself deadlines, narrow down options, like practice to make decisions quickly to overcome this, right? Something also I think is important to be aware of is decision fatigue. The more decisions we have on one day, the less the decision quality often will be. So I often have that when I'm, for example, when I'm creating new slides or for a presentation like this one. When I create a lot of slides like in one single day, such as you create like content or message that you want to provide for one slide, you have to think about that. So you add graphics, you add text, colors, etc. This also means you have a lot of decisions to make on that same day. So yeah, for me actually that was yesterday and a little bit today. So and you may experience tiredness after, or maybe brain fog or other signs of mental fatigues. So the next day you check out your slides or even your code. You may then be like what the heck did I just do here, etc. That's where you discover like issues and rough decision qualities you made, and then you start doing your changes and updates after. Another thing that's important to be aware of is called the paradox of choice. So why more is less? It's a great book by Barry Schwartz. So basically, the more choices or options we have, the harder the decision will be. Like having just enough choices can greatly reduce anxiety and lead to actually better decisions. But it could easily lead to a missed decision that you wished you had if there was not, like enough options. So imagine being JAWS, like the JSWORLD conference organizer, and you have to choose like 30 speakers out of 1,000, right? So with 1,000, it will be way harder to make a decision which ones to pick, because it requires like more work compared, for example, to like 40, for instance. So with 40, you may have a missed chance of having like a world-class speaker like Dan, because you don't have enough speakers on your plate. So define your sweet spot. It could be like, for example, 1 out of 3 per selection, for instance, to limit the decision making and to make decision making a lot easier. So as for us as developers and engineers, our job is like to find that sweet spot and balance in many other aspects too, intrinsically, ideally. And it doesn't matter whether you are a developer or an engineer or an architect or a Ninja developer or DevRel or avocado, banana, or what have you, So in any case, we do make architectural decisions whether we know it or not. So we make decisions that we have learned to make. as engineers and developers. And we may do also micro decisions that we don't even notice that we do because it happens just intrinsically. Now, here are some aspects in software development when it comes to decision making. For example, complexity, like how complex is it? Like how effective does it solve my problem? Or speed, like you may have like a time budget. Does it meet my loading time budget? For example, API, like does it cover the use cases I have? Like how about like composability? Or size, like does it meet my performance budget? Or any open bugs that may cause after? Or about documentation, like it's good when your new coworker could follow along easily. Time, development environment, like how flexible is the tooling for changes and updates after, license, and so on. Like if your thing is eligible for your or for use in your company. There are a few aspects I'd like to take a deeper look into that. For example, like complexity. So how to analyze and how can we measure complexity? So here is another library or framework as an example of a jQuery toggle class snippet. So you have a simple function which toggles the class name, which includes an if-else condition with the condition of being whether element.classList exists or not. And yeah, if you look closer at the bottom part, you might be wondering, hey, wait a second. Element.classList, does this code part ever run? So you check for browser support, and turns out it's actually pretty green. So after all you actually need is probably just this, element.classList, and then you make the toggle class call. So check for complexity, check for dead code. You may find solutions where hard coding it and owning it outweighs the option of using something that's external, that's maintained, but maybe bloated. Now, getting more comfortable in decision making will take some time. So especially on the web where everything is moving so fast and where we see new libraries released pretty much every day, right? And although we see this vibrant movement in web development, it's often a good idea that we don't have to use the latest and greatest library that just came out, right? Oftentimes, it's just fine to use whatever works for your team. What currently works, works. So even if it's not perfect, if it solves for most of your use cases, that's good enough, and yeah, be done with it. So use whatever works for you. It's amazing to be able to use and contribute back that comes from a community like open source. So we see popular libraries being actively maintained by both like full-time open source developers and developers who are just passionate about the work and the field that they're in. Oftentimes, when you're using something from out there, it's likely that you may need help as well as you may bump into problems and bugs that may have been fixed elsewhere already. So also things like getting your question answered quickly, etc. So getting help for free is just really, really powerful. And what makes developers feel so powerful is not just money or status or bugs you find in your own code, but rather bugs you find in other people's code. So what drives us to get going is our passion for solving problems. So if you think about it, if there are no problems, what are we trying to solve then? So what is the purpose of our lives then, right? Now, how are problems solved in web development? How to decide what library to use? How do we conclude that the external library we intend to use is the thing that we need? How do we identify if something is over-engineered? Can the things that it offers in addition maybe be potentially beneficial in the future? We don't know. Like how much of them will be dead code over a longer period of time? There are so many aspects that we may just roll with it and choose. And yeah, oftentimes we may choose an external library that we just trust without much thinking about it, because it may provide the exact API we want and well-written docs, which is enough for the team, and maybe has some good reputation and good people working behind it on top of all. I'm pretty sure all of us have some code running in production that we are not 100% aware of. And it's all about the confidence and the trust we build together. As long as there's a way to review the source at any time you want, and to increase and confirm what's actually happening in our production code, will be good. So every single developer should be reminded that we can always have a peek into the source, or even in your node modules folder, to confirm the behavior we expect. Sometimes we may even feel that the library is the right thing, but at the same time, probably not really. So it's natural that many things out there that exists can't fix your exact problem. So it's your responsibility to share the problems and ideas and how to integrate them into the existing library and provide improvements along the way that works maybe for others as well. Now, let's talk a bit about how to deal with popularity, how to deal with like popular libraries, or how do we even measure popularity? So when is this exact library more popular over the others? I have to admit, yeah, this one, but I feel we sometimes find ourselves to judge things based on GitHub stars as an indicator of popularity. I wouldn't say it's a bad idea, but it's also probably not the best idea. So maybe better is to combine maybe the metrics with things like the value of the code, and maybe activity of maintenance and community. Like what is the value? What is the purpose of the library? How frequently are people talking about it? How frequently are bugs or features added? Like, are there reputable people behind of the works? And then you may find people on different platforms talking about it, such as on Twitter, YouTube, or TikTok, or whatever. Now, let's talk about writing a thing from scratch. If picking an existing solution is not an option, why not just write from scratch and do it from the ground up? Rolling your own code allows us to tailor code to our exact needs. So we will be able to have every single use case covered in the exact way we want. Rolling our own code gives us 100% full control over everything. So with full control, it will be our responsibility to maintain and keep track of our code, which is kind of good and bad. On the other hand, like, depending on the scope, rolling something on your own oftentimes means we will have to do some investment in time and energy, right? And not only time and energy, but many, many other aspects too, such as like extra work for maintenance, the risks behind them, maybe more other people, and maybe more energy getting involved, etc. Now, to slowly wrap up all the things that I've discussed, what decision do we take? Like, where do we draw the line? I believe the most important key factors before drawing a line of a decision is being 100% of the value, like being aware of the worth, like of the usefulness. Also being aware of the constraints, like what limitations are we willing to take over the other? I think what really comes into the decision making is to find your sweet spot, right? So every single decision may have a different one. So you may not even hit it, but you may be in the sweet spot zone that is kind of like the good enough zone for you. So I think the challenging part, after all, is to narrow every single micro decisions we make as close as we can get into this sweet spot zone, or even sweet spot. Sometimes it's good to spend less time thinking about decisions, and most of the time it's absolutely fine to just let our gut feelings drive of whatever feels balanced. So your instinctive decision making may improve from time to time, and it's good. That's a good thing. I think it's also important to understand like the importance of decision. Different cases will come with different priorities, so make them reasonable. Like, confirm these priorities also with your teammates or your managers. Decisions doesn't always come with things you need. They may come also with things that will maybe degrade the quality of your cases. Understanding the risks and drawbacks you take, discuss with your team, and take this into account as well. Any piece of code that has the capability to reduce the risk and negative impact can be considered a big win. So spend some time and understand the impact to increase the quality of code. We should keep in mind that often what we're looking for is to get the best outcome and reduce also maybe some potential risks. Like find balance between what the piece of code does and what it doesn't provide, and the amount of potential risks it reduces. So decisions are made, whether we want it or whether we know it or not. So if we are aware of these, try to make them being good ones. And if unsure what good is or what not, try to discuss them, especially like bigger decisions. So make clean and precise conclusions. Make sure that they are well thought out. Sometimes decisions may not look but feel right. So yeah, find it out. So check if the result is positive overall. Right does not always have to be right, right? So sometimes going the opposite direction is smarter than just going the conservative direction without explanations. In other cases, try to make decisions to be like reasonable. This will clear up confusions, help to provide more clarity, and reduces discussions that may repeat over and over. So, for example, like block comments in your source code are good spots to put them. Keep in mind that every time we add more code into our library, we increase the spectrum for new bugs. So try to keep track of potential unused and unnecessary code. You don't have to go always for the safest path. So try taking some risks, but keep moving forward to even enhance your current decision quality. Simplicity is key overall. So simple code often means less code. It's easier to understand, less maintenance, less things to worry about. And yeah, you don't have to use, as I mentioned before, the hyped library because for the sakes of that's so new and cool. So it's fine to not just use the latest and greatest. So whatever makes you more productive, whatever makes you more enjoyable to work with, use whatever works best for you and your team. So keep good practices that worked in the past. Write the best version of the code possible. Nothing feels worse than like writing half-baked code that you might refactor in several weeks or months over and over. And yeah. Lastly, we should be mindful that the decisions we make and the requirements that we set today may effectively vary at any time. So some decisions we take today may change next year, next month, or even tomorrow, even later. And that's all I got. Thank you very much.